Hello friends, good morning. Welcome to AL Info session for IAG security. So we are the company will be providing the training in SAP IAG and SAP security, all the domains and consulting as well. So right now for today's session we are going to show you how we can create a how we can configure access analysis services in SAP IAG and how we can create a risk in SAP IAG system. So let's see that. So to create any risk in SAP IAG and access analysis services module, so there are specific processes there. So this process is nothing but like we'll be creating a dashboard. So this dashboard is a trigger point for us to find the risk. So once we find a risk, suppose, and then if the risk is there, so then we analyze the users, like which user can have that risk or which user should not have that risk. So ideally we want to remove the risk from the users, but in case if you feel that some users will have, for take example like SU01 PFCG is a kind of risk, so not all the people can have that risk, so that you can analyze the users, like maybe you can see all the users will have the SU01 PFCG, and if you make an exception like security team is a kind of exception, so other than security team you can have the remediation option here in IAG, that is new compared to the GRC. So you can use this specific option to remediate the risk or to remove the roles which is assigned to the user which provide the access of SU01 and PFCG. And in case if any security team is there, you want to allow them that they can have the SU01 and PFCG, so then you have the option for mitigation, and once the mitigation is assigned, then you can do the audit reporting and then monitor also for the controlling. So this is a specific process that we have here, and to get this dashboard analytics to find the specific roles or specific users have the specific risk, so system has to find the risk. Okay, and how system is going to find the risk? Then to find, system is able to find the risk based on you have to define the risk in the system. So how to define the risk in IAG? If you want to define any risk, so system doesn't know really which combination of transactions, which combinations of your authorization object or permissions is a form of risk. So you have to make the system intelligent by defining a risk, and then system is able to find the risk like a combination of the transactions or authorization object for any specific users or roles. So that is the trigger point for us to define the risk in the IAG system. And to define the risk, there is basic prerequisite is there. Like the prerequisite is like, first, before defining any risk into the IAG system, we have to define a common master data. So this common master data that we define the first time and one time into the IAG system, and these are some examples for common master data. For example, the business process and sub process you have. So the business process and sub process is a kind of master data that we are going to utilize for all the 5 sub module of your IAG system. Okay, so like business process will be applicable for while you are creating a role, while you are raising an access request, while you are certifying any access request, while you are doing the emergency access or privilege management services in IAG, for example. So that will be used. So in order to create a business process, once you define the business process, then you have to define a specific configuration for access analysis services, and that is like a risk level is one kind of configuration that you have to do in IAG system to define the level of a risk. Okay, and once you define the risk level, then you have to create a function, and the functions you create, if you are defining a SOD kind of risk, so SOD kind of risk is nothing but the combination of 2 functions. So you can create a risk with the combination of 2 or more functions, and then also you can define the level of a risk. So this is a part like how we can define the risk. So let's see this part, especially how we can define the risk, and we can define SOD kind of risk also in IAG. We also can able to define critical risk as well. So the critical risk is nothing but the single function, means the single transaction you can clarify or define is a kind of risk. Just an example like a payroll transaction. So the payroll transaction is a critical transaction. Only the payroll administrator can have this transaction. No other person can have this transaction. So single transaction also we are able to define as a critical transaction or critical risk. So let's see in the system how we can define those risk into the system. So to define the risk, we go to our IAG system. So we are in IAG system. So let's go to the home screen, and then you have the administration tab, access analysis tab, reports, role designer, access request for other, access certification, privilege, access management. So these are like modules you have, like for access analysis, role designer, access request, and access certification and PAN. So these are some specific modules are there that will be configuring using IAG system. So right now we are configuring for access analysis, and within access analysis we are defining the risk, SOD kind of risk. Let's see that. So in order to define a risk, so the prerequisite is like we have to define the functions here. We have to define the before function also we can define the risk level as well. So we can come here to for the risk level, and then you can see the different type of risk level will be defined here. Even you can add the risk level as well if you want to define. Initially the risk level is not defined here in the system. You can define initially as a risk level, you can add it here. So how to define? You have the plus sign here, you can click on the plus sign, and then here you can define the risk level. So for example, if you want to define very high some category, very high risk for example, so like that you can define here the risk level and then save it. So okay, very high, I think it is already there. So we can define critical, very critical, something you can define. So normally it categorizes medium, low, high, that is the standard level we have, or critical level. So like that you can define. So very high risk or very low risk or any critical risk, like that you can define anything, or very critical for example, right? So this is some idea for you to define that risk. And once the risk level you define, then you can go to the function, and from function you can define the functions. So function is nothing but the container of your actions and permissions. So to define any function you can use the plus sign again here, and then here you can define the functions. So for example, if you are defining function 11 for example, so you can say SU10 is a kind of transaction if you want to give create users, and then you can select the business process, for which business process this function belongs to. So for example, this function belong to the security, okay, business process, and then you can add here the, so here you can see the action, means you want to define the function with some action, means transaction. So you can select your system as a connector. So this connector also we define initially in the kind of installation, post installation kind of a step, if you want to compare with GRC. So we will be connecting the satellite system with IAG. So for example, we connected S4HANA system, and if you search here for SU10, or you can search here SU10, and you can add here after selecting your system. You keep here and press enter, and then you can see here the transactions. You can select here the transaction, and if you want to add permission, you can click on the plus sign also here in the permission section. And once you click on the permission section, then you can see with SU10 those authorization object and values is coming here in that screen. So how it is coming? So this is nothing but your SU24 in the satellite system, which is linked with SU10 transaction is coming here, and from here also you can select the permission which you feel is a kind of risk if you consider as a permission. So for example, we can take SM_user group like activity 02 is a kind of risk for you, just in consideration. So like you can take that as an example, or s underscore user group in 01 is user creation or is user change, both if you say it is a kind of permission for you. So you can select here, and you have the operators also in case if you want to say the condition is or between this. So if user have SU10 with the activity 01 or 02 is also a kind of a risk, so you can keep here the operators here. And then once you are satisfied with your combination, permutation and combination, then you can save and activate this. So this function is activated. So like that you can create a function, another function, in order to create SU10 and PSCG is a kind of SOD risk. So first we have to create a function, and once your function is created, z underscore function 11 for example, then we are also creating one more function. So for example, z underscore function 22, PSCG is your transaction. Create roles for example, then this is also belong to some business process, for example security. And then if you go scroll down, you can have the actions also, you can add the actions as well. Select your system connector, and then you go to PFCG. Once you go to the PFCG, you can search here, so you can see the PFCG you have. Select your transaction, go to your permission then. So once you select permission, again it will be coming from your SU24 from satellite system, and this will be coming into IAG from the sync job. Okay, so here also we have some sync job which will bring SU24 information from your satellite system to IAG system. So select here your PFCG, for example user role creation here, s underscore user AGR is the object which will be used for creation of the roles, and then it is for changing of a role. If you say that creation of a role and changing of a role is also kind of like a risk, so you can select both the things and then save and activate. So once you save and activate, your function is being activated. So like we created two functions right now, z function 11, z function 12. So these two functions, one function contain SU10 and another function contain PSCG. And now once you are successfully created the function, then you are able to create a risk. So in order to create a risk, go here, and then in this home screen you can see the risk Fury application is there. You can come here and click on the risk Fury application, and then here once you click here, then you have the option to create a risk here. Again you have the plus sign here, click on the plus sign, and then it is asking for which business process you want to create a risk. Select your business process. For example security, you want to define a risk, so select security. The risk ID you can have to define. So always remember that you use the Z and Y letter for creating your custom risk. So Z underscore risk 33, I'm just creating something. So you can say SU10 description. So this description is also you have to define something logical so that people can understand why this is a kind of risk. So SU10 and PFCG is a risk. Okay, some long description you can say. So for example user creation and user creation using SU10 and PFCG is a risk. Okay, like that you can define, and then you can define the risk level. What is the risk level for this? If you say it is a high risk, and then by default you can say this is an important thing, the risk type. So you can define here the risk type here like SOD kind of risk. If we want to say that SU01, SU10 and PFCG is a combination, and if the user has this combination is a kind of risk. Either you can define critical access risk also, any critical transaction if you want to define, or any critical permission also you can define as a kind of risk. Okay, So this type of risk also we can create, and maximum you have 5 function combination you can allow. And then here is the option to add the functions. So we can click here the plus sign, and then the functions which you created already you can have here, for example SU10 and the PFCG. For example, you want to make as a risk, so you can click on the plus sign. So it is combination of 2 functions is a kind of a risk. So you have the option for add the owners also. So you can add here owners in case if you want to make any person as a owner. So this also you can add if you want to define a owner as a owner. So this also we can define by assigning some roles and by assigning some groups. So, and then if you don't want to assign or don't have that, then you can save it also. So you can save, and then this is how you can create a SOD kind of risk. So if any user who have this combination like SU10 and PFCG, system will throw the risk, and then once you save it, and then you can activate that risk as well. Okay, and once this risk is active, so you can see if you click here, you can see the status of the risk is active. So once the risk is inactive, then only it will take the part of the risk analysis. So that's the thing. And then in case if you want to do the risk analysis for this user, then you can come here and do the access analysis for the users and do the risk analysis. Okay, so that is all about how we can create a risk. Hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you for your feedback. And then in case if you are looking for any training for SAP IAG, so reach out to me on this mobile number or this email ID. We will be helping you for any of the SAP security or SAP trainings. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye bye.